Welcome to the Construction Disruption Podcast, where we uncover the future of design, building, and remodeling.
I'm Todd Miller of Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty metal roofing. Welcome to Construction Disruption, the show where we break ground on big ideas and tear down a few walls and myths along the way. Today I am joined by my co-host, Ethan Young. What's the news, Ethan?
Well, this has actually been a busy week for me, Todd. I've been traveling for work some and been a productive week for sure, but it's been good. How about you? How are you doing?
Going well. Yeah, you're right. You have been busy. You've been out doing filming and video work and interviewing people and all kinds of fun stuff. So excited to see the results of that. Going to be cool. But yeah, it's been a fairly busy week as we kind of go into fall. It always seems like September and October are our busiest months, oddly enough. No one ever understands that. I never understood it for a lot of years, but we seem to be going into that phase again right now. So once again, to let our audience know, we are doing challenge words where Ethan and I and also our guest all have a word we have been challenged to work into the conversation as seamlessly as possible. And we will let you, our loyal listening audience, know at the end of the show whether we were successful or not. So, Ethan, you good to go?
I'm good to go. Let's start it up.
Let's do it. So our guest today is Jordan Rueschhoff, residential sales manager for Diversified Roofing based in Phoenix, Arizona. Jordan has considerable history in the roofing and construction industry before he took his role as sales manager for Phoenix's leading roofing contractor. Jordan has a passion for our industry, for customer service, and also for giving back to his community. Jordan, welcome to Construction Disruption. True pleasure to have you with us today.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you having me on. Excited to chat some roofing stuff with you guys today.
Cool. Thank you so much. Well, I know that you have a lot of industry history that goes back even to your college days. Tell us a little bit about that journey that got you where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So for starters, I was a student athlete in college. I played football for 4 years. And after my senior year of football, I'm a very competitive person, and I was like, all right, what's the next thing? My football career is done. I need to find something to drive my competitiveness and, find that next thing for me. And I had an opportunity to take a position as a franchise owner for a painting company in Montana, which is where I was going to school. And I decided to take that on. I feel like entrepreneurship has always kind of been a passion of mine. Like going through school, I went to school for business. Like I knew that was kind of a direction I wanted to go. But home improvement industry was really never on my radar growing up. Like I didn't grow up wanting to be in the home improvement industry. But I quickly learned that the industry itself is a really competitive one, but also just one where you can really get out there and you get out what you put into it, right? Which is what I was striving for. So I took on the challenge of starting a painting franchise in a market that franchise had never been in. So that was a task in itself. So I did painting for 5 years, found some success with it, enjoyed it. But I was looking for something a little different after about 5 years. And that's when I started to look into other home improvement industries. And that's where I came across roofing.
Okay.
And roofing, I was like, I looked at it as like, man, these average job sizes are like 4 times the amount of these painting jobs. Like there's some potential in this, right? So make good money. I really enjoyed my time painting, but roofing was like, hey, there's just so much more upside here. So I took the leap of faith. I actually moved from Montana to Arizona to work with a startup roofing company that was working out here.
Moving to where it never rains. That makes perfect sense.
Exactly. I didn't know that. I was young and naive at the time. So I started just as a sales rep. I wanted to kind of learn the trade, understand. I worked on some of the roofs myself in Arizona. Talk about a terrible decision, but I learned very quickly kind of the ins and outs of sales. And within a year, I was able to move into a director of operations role for that company. And we we're a startup company, and we grew very big, very fast. We had 5 different states that we were operating in, and we had over 40 sales reps across the country. And I was in charge of those 40 sales reps, which was a lot, but it was just an incredible learning experience and understanding different markets and how different markets operate, from Texas to Arizona. Like, those are 2 very, very different types of markets. So it was interesting. I did that for 2 years, and as you can imagine, I got burnt out very fast.
Sure.
And it was a lot, but at the same time, I don't regret it at all. It was such a great learning experience. So I actually stepped away from the roofing industry for a couple years, and I went into consulting. So I was a consultant for small businesses looking to start up in the home improvement industry. So I actually help launch over 100 small businesses in roofing, painting, flooring, just any of the home improvement industries. Help them from hiring their first sales rep to how to manage payroll, how to develop a website. And that was just a really, really cool and fulfilling experience. And I just remember my time when I was starting my business at 21 years old and how difficult it was. But I had kind of a structure, that franchise system, to help me and guide me. And I wanted to provide that for, individual business owners who didn't want to go to that franchise route and wanted to have full ownership of their business. So I did that for a couple years, really, really enjoyed it, but I also kind of missed the day-to-day of operations. I missed the chaos of being in the middle of it, of what operations in roofing or home improvement is. So I decided to step away from that and get back into it, and that's where I found Diversified Roofing. And I started, it's been just over 2 years now. I took the sales manager role here, which is kind of a glorified just manager in general. Manage everything from the sales to the operations and all that for my division. But it's been a crazy process, but I've always kind of just found myself still staying with that home improvement area, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the customer interaction I get. I enjoy helping people grow within the industry. Like, that's always a passion of mine.
Sure. Well, I'm curious, as you look back on the growth of your career in sales in particular, are there any certain experiences or lessons or maybe education or training you went through that have been particularly formative to you in developing your expertise in that area?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, the best thing I ever did was get my hands in on a little bit of everything in the business. So I've worked on production crews. I've sat in production meetings. I see what the admin team does. I have meetings with them. I try to immerse myself into every aspect of the business, because for me as a salesperson, that helps me understand the full scope of what we're trying to accomplish on all ends, right? To make sure that there's so many salespeople out there that just focus on getting the sale. And for a business to be successful, there's so many components that need to work together. And I think as a salesperson, that's your responsibility to make sure everything comes together smoothly, right? Expectations are set properly with the customer and the production crews and the admin team or whatever it may be, right? So I guess the first thing is just really understanding the full aspect of the business and how your decisions as a salesperson impacts the rest of the company and that customer.
Boy, I love that, and you're right. That makes that salesperson so much just more powerful in the home when they understand the full business. Well, so unless I'm mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Diversified is known a lot for its commanding presence in commercial roofing, and you're heading up residential for them. What's that look like to be doing that for a company that is known a lot for commercial? And what's your team look like and so forth?
Yeah, so actually we have a pretty even 50-50 split now between residential and commercial, which is really exciting. So our team on the residential side, a big part of our business is in the new construction side of things for residential. So we do a lot of track home, custom homes, stuff like that. So that's a big portion of our residential space. And then obviously re-roof, repairs, service, all of that's kind of encompassed into our residential side of the business. In terms of team size, we actually do it pretty efficiently. So on the sales front, I got myself, and then there's an account manager that manages all of our track home builders. So your Taylor Morrisons and, things like that, your bigger home builders. And then I have another account manager that focuses solely on the local custom home builders that do the multi-million-dollar homes out here. And then I have 3 more guys that focus strictly on residential re-roof. So 5 total sales guys essentially. So I feel like we're pretty efficient with that, with the numbers we're able to get. On the production side, that's a whole different beast. We have 8 different superintendents on the residential side, each running about 4 to 5 crews.
Wow.
And that's a beast.
You're busy. Yeah,
Yes.
you're busy.
That's a lot of roofing.
Well, and I always think it's interesting whenever I come across a new construction home in Phoenix or around Arizona, it always seems like it's a huge house and just complicated. And, those are nice projects though. But, I'm kind of curious. So I've always looked at commercial roofing. I've never been involved with it, but it always seems like that would be a sale that would focus a lot on things like cost per year, return on investment. And yet, most residential guys don't go about selling residential roofs quite in that same vein. I'm kind of curious, what crossovers or what similarities do you see in your company between how commercial and residential roofs are sold, or are they completely different beasts to you?
A little bit of both, I would say. So I think when we are looking at, for example, in residential, we do HOA communities and things like that. So that type of sale is very, very similar to that of like a commercial sale, right? So any of those bigger jobs, those HOA boards, they're all about cost effectiveness, saving money over time, all of that. When it comes to individual homeowners, though, this is where I think it gets interesting. I try to focus, we sell value, right, to a homeowner. That's what they care about. Sometimes that does mean return on investment, right? It just depends on what that customer is looking for specifically. And the way I always look at it is any chuck in the truck, as what I like to call, can go out and put a good roof on for a customer. But it's really how you value your service and your products and how you create that value through those options to the homeowner that really separates you. So that's what we really try to focus on in the residential space, is how do we create that value? We're not going to be the cheapest. I don't want to be the cheapest, right? It's all about how is my service going to separate me from my competitor? And that's kind of our focus point in the residential space.
Makes a lot of sense. Yep. Sell the value. So as I look back on 2025, it's been a year where most areas of the country, contractors have really found lead generation to be a little bit sluggish compared to at least what they'd seen in those years immediately following COVID. Anything your company is finding being successful or effective in terms of lead gen right now?
Yeah, it has been slow, especially, we're feeling it here in Phoenix especially. And we've had to get creative. There's so many things changing. I know we're going to talk about this more a little bit later on AI and how digital marketing is kind of evolving and changing. And we've really had to pivot on our approach to lead generation. And this year we took more of kind of a grassroots style, old school style of marketing and really kind of focused on that. Not as much door knocking, which I'll kind of get into it a little bit, but more so networking groups. So we have guys in BNI groups, we have home builder associations, Chamber of Commerce, stuff like that. We found a lot of traction with that and a ton of success. But I think the biggest winner is the referral program.
Okay.
That is bar none the most important aspect of our lead generation, and having kind of a program in place to help generate referral leads. And it's helped increase our close rate drastically, having that type of high quality lead as well. So it's really helped us in that front. So those are the 2 areas that I'd say the most successes come from. We do some door knocking. We're not, I wouldn't say canvassers. We're not hitting full neighborhoods. We do a very strategic style of canvassing or door knocking. I call it the quick 6. We hit a very small number of houses around the bills that we're doing.
Sure.
Introduce ourselves. Hey, sorry for the noise. Here's my card. If you have any questions, let me know. Also, be more than happy to give you a free estimate. So, stuff like that. We run pretty lean here, and I like my guys to make sure they're maximizing their time. And I've found that in our type of market, in a retail heavy market like Phoenix, the door knocking can be very, very difficult and time consuming.
I like what you're saying about, well, something I've always called referral maximization. And I started talking about it several years ago, saying, we put all this money into traditional advertising of different forms, and when it's not working, the people selling you the advertising, their answer is, well, spend more. My comment was always, well, why don't we take a certain amount of our advertising budget and devote that to maximizing our referrals? And so I love what you're saying there. I think that is spot on. Kind of curious what's happening. I mean, Phoenix has traditionally been a tile market. Nationally, of course, we're seeing a product close to our hearts, metal, growing in market share. Are you seeing that in the Phoenix market yet at all, or is it still just tile, or what are you seeing out there?
Seeing a little bit of metal. I would still say over 90% of our new builds here in the Phoenix area are tile or foam.
Okay.
I think foam is the other kind of roofing system that's utilized out here that takes up a good chunk of the market. Metal, the only time we're seeing it really is on custom homes. So custom homes, we're seeing portions of that roof be metal. So that hasn't been a huge part. Like re-roof, though, it's been... Everybody talks about it. We go to trade shows and we have our metal roof samples up there. They're all intrigued and excited about it. And then we go out there and we show them the price and they're like, yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
that's kind of been the challenge for us to overcome on the metal side of things. Another product that we've looked into on the metal side that's starting to get some traction it's called unified steel. It's almost like the metal shingles or the metal tile. Like we've seen stuff like that starting to grow in popularity as well. But standing seam, things like that, seen it on the custom homes, but not a whole lot on the re-roof side of things.
Interesting. Yeah, well, unified steel is kind of a dirty word around here. They are our number one competitor probably, but no, they're good company and good products. So that's great. Kind of curious. So I read a statistic the other day that really kind of struck me. It said that, with the advent of our Amazon culture and everything online, that by the time a consumer actually calls a home improvement contractor to their house, they are already about 80% of the way through the buying cycle, in terms of, their decision making, and they know what they want and so forth. Kind of curious, how do you coach your sales team to connect with homeowners in that environment who may already think they already have it all figured out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing that we have to do in that sense is hear them out. Let them talk, right? Listen to what they have to say. They're going to express concerns or their opinions, right? And I feel like so many salespeople make the mistake of trying to combat that right away or give them the information that they want to give them. Like, you'll have your time for that. I think it's really important to take the time to listen to the customer. And maybe there's some validity to what they're trying to say, even if you don't agree with it, right? Mm-hmm. So I think understand where their sources are, where they're getting that information, and making sure we're educating them around what we experience. So I think another thing I like to do in those situations is, if you've been in the industry long enough, you're going to have a similar type of customer that you've dealt with in the past, right? That has the same kind of issues, same concerns, whatever it may be. And I always like to tell stories that, hey, I had a customer just like you, had the same concern. This is how we took care of them. Right?
Love it.
And this is my recommendation on what we do, and here's why. Right. So it just kind of puts them at ease. It doesn't make them feel like a victim almost, right? It's like, hey, other people think just like you. It's perfectly okay. Like, this is how we take care of those people.
I think that's a great way to put it too. It's kind of reframing it from not like a conflict, but like you're not trying to sell them something versus them trying not to be sold to, versus, here's what we've experienced. We can help you out. We can solve your problem. Reframing it definitely goes a long way.
Certainly helps to build that trust without a doubt. And I'm kind of reminded of something that Rodney Webb teaches. And, he teaches techniques for making every customer into almost be like a referral. And I think when you talk about those other jobs you've done and they start to put themselves in the place of your former customer, it starts to give them the mindset of being a referral, even though maybe that lead wasn't actually a referral. So,
and I come from a Rodney Webb system.
do you?
So yeah. So a lot of didn't take everything from his system. Like I kind of made it into my own, but there's so much good stuff in Rodney Webb. That's where a lot of my learning and stuff comes from in terms of kind of the psychological part of sales, which is just fascinating to me.
We've never had him on the show. We need to add him to our list, Ethan. I'd love to do that. Cool. So the roofing industry, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I've been around since dirt was 3 days old, they tell me, but a long time. And I'm seeing more change probably in the last 5 years than I'd seen in the previous 40 years of my time in this industry. And there's things changing with technology, sales tools, materials. Are there any innovations you're seeing out there right now that have you particularly excited, to see where that's going to lead?
Yeah, I think on the sales front of things, it's super exciting. Just some of the technology we have for takeoffs and for putting bids together, proposals together. I've shifted. When I first got here at Diversified, we used old Excel files that, you put your estimate together and you take off numbers all into that and it spit out a number for you. And we've adapted to a whole new system where I can do a takeoff and get a proposal written in 15 minutes. And a nice professional looking proposal with product information, with warranty information, all of that. So it's just made, and everything's online now. Customers can sign online. They open up their email, look at the proposal, and they just click sign right then and there, send us a check or pay credit card over the phone for a deposit, and they're set up and ready to go. So that's really changed the game. Like I just remember thinking back at my time starting the painting company, everything was old school pen and paper with the carbon copies. Things have changed immensely since then. So it's cool to see that component of it. Just last year we launched we call our instant estimate tool on our website. So a customer can go to our website and get a ballpark estimate for their home in under a minute.
Oh, wow.
Right. So they can get it. They just put in their address, put in a few informations. They can select the products they want, and it'll give them a ballpark price. Say, hey, this is what you should be budgeting for your roof. It's just little things like that just make such a huge difference for the customer experience, And in today's day and age of instant gratification, everybody wants things right now. It's such a huge tool.
Well, and it differentiates you from the guys that haven't figured that out yet. And, it kind of goes back to the things that another previous guest, Marcus Sheridan, talks a lot about. They ask, you answer. You got to give them the answers, because if they don't get them from you, they're going to get them from somebody else. Well, I'm curious, what are you guys seeing in your market right now in terms of interest in solar, energy efficiency, sustainability? Are those picking up any steam at all? And of course, now with the solar tax credits going away, we're not quite sure what the impact that's going to be. But can you reflect a little bit on what's happening in that regard? Yeah,
absolutely. On the solar front, exploding right now, right? Everybody's panicking, trying to get their solar before the tax credit ends. Like Arizona, it's been a pretty big deal out here for a handful of years now. And it's not something we really dive into much on our side. Like we partner with some solar companies that take care of our customers when they come across it. But yeah, it's not something we wanted to take on. We did look into some of those like solar shingles and, some of that stuff that's out there on the market now. And we just didn't feel confident in it yet to kind of take that on. I think they got some work to do on that front before I think that's ready to really, but I do think it's a really cool concept, and I think it actually looks pretty decent compared to just these ugly panels up on your roof. But so The other component, though, of like energy efficiency, that's obviously a big thing here in Arizona. It gets 110 degrees out here during the summer. ACs are constantly running. So energy efficiency has been a big proponent, especially in our custom homes. They're always looking for that R value or looking for, specific type of regulations on their home. And we've started to implement a lot more what we call cool roof systems. So I know in shingles, they got like the cool roof shingles, but even in tile today, there's cool roof systems for tile roofs where it has like raised or arched battens where airflow can go through like a vented bird stop to a ridge vent at the top. So it's cool to see how the industry is adapting to accommodate all types of different roofs for that kind of system.
Well, it's been about a year and a half since I was last in Phoenix, but I remember when I was there, I was thinking it was so hot. I swear I could have baked cinnamon rolls on the hood of my rental car. I'm pretty sure of it.
Yes.
Well, tell us, you had kind of alluded to it earlier, AI and various digital tools. How do you see those continuing to impact your company, in terms of how you do business, how you sell, lead gen, all that type of stuff?
AI, just like anything else, is taking over the world at this point. I had a meeting with one of our marketing companies that we utilize, and they're just kind of sharing the information of how like AI has been impacting SEO. Like SEO is a whole different ball game now, and I am no expert in it, so don't ask me any questions on that. But I know it's a completely different ball game. You go to Google and type in Sonoran hot dogs, right? It's not going to pull up where you get them. It's going to give you like a little list of what a Sonoran hot dog is, all from AI generation, right? Same thing when you type in roofers, it's going to give you an AI answer. And most people are just reading that AI answer and not even scrolling down to look at the different websites or blogs or whatever it is. So it's interesting to see how that's kind of affecting SEO. But I do think there's also some really good uses for it. Like we've looked into actually using AI as a takeoff system to where on our custom homes, because as you alluded to earlier, those custom homes get very, very difficult, and the details and the scopes of work are very, very intrinsic. So we have to, sometimes it takes 2, 3, 4 hours to get a takeoff done for a custom home. And we've actually looked into automating it through AI where it creates a takeoff for us. We're still a little ways from that. We've been working on it. I think it's going to take some time to kind of get it dialed in. But things like that, like think about saving 4 hours of your time in a day to do one takeoff. Like, is this going to really increase our capacity, what one person can accomplish? So I do see it as being an effective tool that will help our industry in the long run.
Cool stuff. Yeah, we're playing with that with AI also. And, another thing we have kind of thought about is, okay, how can we use AI to even help us predict what would be the most efficient way to install that job? If you got a 4-person crew, 2 are experienced, 2 aren't, how would you arrange them on that job to be absolutely as efficient as possible? And so I think there's cool stuff. It'll definitely get there here sooner rather than later, probably. Well, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges right now facing residential roofing or companies like your own?
Yeah, I think we've been talking about a big challenge already, and that's the technology side of things. I think I hate to say it, but like roofers are not the most technology savvy people, and it's ever evolving in that way, right? And I think it's important for people to not be afraid to look into some of these systems to help you become more efficient. And if you're not, right, I think you're going to be left behind. You're leaving a ton of opportunity out there. So I think just the challenge of taking on that adaptation of going with some of this technological advances and utilizing it and being comfortable with it, right? And it's hard for a lot of people who've been in the industry for a while to make such a big change in their business and how they do things. And I think that's a true and a real challenge. And then the other one I think that's important is we've already alluded to is lead generation. I think things are very, like, really changing on how we can generate leads, because as we change to a new generation, right, and we're getting more younger people that we're trying to sell to, some of these people don't even like to talk to people, right? They don't pick up the phone. They don't, like, we're moving to a world where I think this is interesting concept, and I think it's a reality where we could actually sell jobs without ever doing an on-site consultation, because people don't want that. So I think that's an interesting concept that I could lead towards that. But I think the whole way we generate leads is going to shift between AI affecting it and people not answering their doors when you go door knocking. Like, it's so tough out there. I come from a world of door knocking. That's how I generated most of my business when I first started my painting company, was just door to door. And it's just seeing how that's evolved over the past decade plus is just astonishing, how difficult it is anymore to find success on the door to door, unless you're like in a storm market, right? Where it's easy to sell like a deductible versus a $20,000 re-roof.
So to go along with this kind of new generation of customers, what advice would you give to, a newer generation of salespeople? Obviously you already kind of covered, being driven, not being lackadaisical and just kind of expecting it to all happen for you. But what advice would you give, new people to the industry?
Yeah, I think for me in sales, you got to have an entrepreneurial mindset. I think it can be so difficult when you label yourself as like an employee. Like, you kind of have to be willing to work after 5 p.m. or take those phone calls. Like, you have to have that entrepreneurial mindset. I'm a very goal-oriented person. So I think it's really important to set smart goals, but also have a plan of accountability around that, just for yourself or for your team if you're a sales manager, right? So I think that's really important note. And don't be afraid to think outside the box. Things are changing. You got to be able to evolve, like, try new things. It's okay to give. I mean, the 2+ years I've been here, we've tried so many different things just to see what sticks, right? And sometimes that's what it takes, some trial and error. And don't be afraid to think outside the box and try new things.
So much of what you've talked about today reminds me of something my father told me years ago in business. And he always said, if in business you think you're holding your own, forget about it, because there's someone going around you. There is no such thing as holding your own. And I think with the speed of change, that's just increasing every year, how quickly someone else can go around you. And you're doing all the great stuff, Jordan, by being the one who's determined to go around all the competitors. So good stuff. Well, this has been great. Is there anything we haven't covered today that you wanted to be sure to share with our audience?
No, I don't think so. I think we talked about a lot of like really cool stuff here today. I think, a lot of the stuff around the technology is interesting, man. I'm excited to see where the industry kind of goes. I do see a big shift in kind of that momentum of how things are operating, and I just want to continue to stay ahead of the trend best I can. And that'd be another piece of advice: just try to stay ahead of it and explore those different options. So. But no, I really, really appreciate you guys having me on. Some good conversation.
Well, good advice you provided. Thank you. It's been a great time together. So before we close out and before I have you give your contact information, I'm going to ask if you're willing to participate in something we call our rapid fire questions. So these are just 5 questions. Some are serious, some are not so serious. All you have to do is give a top of mind response. Are you up to the challenge of rapid fire?
Let's have some fun.
Okay. You can ask the first one, Ethan.
Okay. What's a product or service that you've acquired recently that was a game changer for you? And it can be, personal life or for work or whatever.
Air fryer.
Okay.
Doing some of that healthy eating that way, huh?
Trying to, yeah.
Good for you. Any particular brand?
I don't even know what the brand is.
Okay.
Man.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, question number 2, what is your dream car or other vehicle, truck, or maybe it's a flying spaceship? I don't know. What's your dream vehicle?
So I'm like an old school American Muscle.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with GTO.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah, that's a great one.
My parents between 64 and 71 owned 3 Le Manses. Never had a GTO though, but they could afford that. But they were still nice cars, cool cars.
Yeah.
Okay, next question, Ethan.
I'm not a sales guy, but I've heard some very interesting stories from some of our sales guys. So what's the most unusual request you've ever had in roofing sales?
Oh my gosh. I guess I'll just do like the most unusual job that I've had to deal with here recently. I'll tell this story. The guy had a putting green on his roof.
On his roof.
So we had to literally create a roofing system that allowed drainage for his putting green that was literally on top of his roof. It was the weirdest situation. It was difficult. It was not fun to deal with. We had to do a TPO system underneath it, and then the landscapers came in, ruined the TPO with all their stuff. Like it was a disaster, but we got it fixed in the end, taken care of. The guy has a putting green on his roof now. So
Now you can advertise your experience of doing putting greens on roofs. So
welcome to Arizona.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Next to last question. Do you have any hidden talent that folks may not know about?
No hidden talents. I guess my interesting fact, though, I'll give you that, is I had 6 wisdom teeth pulled out of my mouth.
6? That's
Normal's 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had 4 on the bottom and 2 on the top. That's my. So I like to think that, maybe I'm a little smarter for that. I don't know. Maybe they pulled all the wisdom out when they did that. So
I think the fact that you could grow them means the wisdom must be there. That's all I can think.
Yeah, but it was painful. I was down for the count for 3 days after that.
They did them all at once?
All at once. They put me under. Yeah, they put me under and pulled them all out.
Wow, crazy.
Alrighty, last question. What would you hope to be remembered for, years down the road at the end of your career?
I think remembered for always being there for my team, right? So always having somebody that my team could always count on, right? I take leadership very seriously. So I would always want to be remembered for, I was the guy that my team could always count on if they needed something, they needed help, or they needed support with something. So I'd say that'd be the biggest thing. Career-wise, that would be my biggest thing. Yep.
That's a great answer, yeah.
It is. Good stuff. Well, I am pleased to report also that we all got our challenge words in, which was awesome. Jordan, your word was?
Sonoran hot dogs.
Sonoran hot dog, which you worked in extremely well.
Yeah.
I had the word cinnamon, which I worked in there. And Ethan, you had?
I had lackadaisical, which was a fun one to fit in, but I think I got there.
I didn't know if you were going to make it, but you made it, so good deal. Well, Jordan, thank you again for joining us today. This has been great and very informative. Great episode. For someone who may want to connect with you, what are best ways for them to do that?
Yeah, you can reach out to us on the website, reach out to directly there at diversifiedroofing.com, or you can reach out to me directly, 602-885-7133.
We'll put that in the show notes. You're also on LinkedIn, if I remember right. I've
Correct,
seen you
yep.
out there. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Very good. Well, thank you again, Jordan, for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate your time.
And thank you to our audience for tuning into this episode of Construction Disruption with Jordan Rueschhoff of Diversified Roofing in Phoenix. Please watch for future episodes of our podcast. We're always blessed with great guests. Until the next time we're together, though, keep on challenging, keep on disrupting, keep on looking for better ways of doing things. And don't forget to have a positive impact on everyone you encounter. Make them smile, leave them feeling encouraged, simple yet powerful things you can do. So God bless and take care. This is Isaiah Industries signing off. Until the next episode of Construction Disruption.
This podcast is produced by Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty metal roofing and other building products.